I'm Dylan.
I'm Nathan.
We are two brothers talking about movies together. And we're on episode 13 of the Uncool show. Thank you for joining us. This week, we are talking about School of Rock. Um, Another one of those movies, which is going to be a theme for a little bit, at the very least. It's another one of those movies that we grew up on. It was a family movie. It was always in rotation, much like a couple of the others we've talked about. But this is one I'm especially excited to talk about. School of Rock is just the best. It's just one of the warmest, funniest, sweetest, but yet very, very well written, very smart comedies ever made, in my estimation. What does this movie mean to you?
Well, this is one, like all the other movies we've mentioned so far. Well, especially related to Remember the Titans, I think that this was a family classic, like you said, and one that was always on rotation, and one that I think is in the running for movie I've seen the most, you know? And I think, like Superbad, I think it is one of the best comedies of the 21st century. Uh, I think it's, I think the filmmaking is really impressive. Richard Linklater is a great filmmaker,
He
and
is.
I think it's the it's the Jack Black show, and it lives or dies by how good Jack Black is, and it rises. It really, his performance just elevates this movie so much.
Yeah, it really is his. It's all under the umbrella of Jack Black. His acting ability, his comedic timing, his ability to relate to young people, his very clear music talent that he's always possessed. It really is more so than the Tenacious D show or the Tenacious D movie or any other little project that he's ever had. This is really his moment to shine. It's a character completely created for him. I believe Mike White, the writer of this, said this was only offered to him.
Hmm.
Uh, it it catapulted Jack Black from likable side
Hmm.
character to somebody who could really lead a movie.
Right.
And this is just one of those leading roles that I don't think gets enough attention. Clearly, you and I are very partial to it, but this to me is one of the most impressive comedic performances ever, and
Hmm.
I think it has gone underappreciated the last 2 decades, if anything.
Hmm.
And again, it's in the public consciousness. It's a great family movie. I think it's one of the best comedies ever made. It's one of the best Jack Black performances ever. It is the
It is
best
the best.
Jack
Definitely
Black
the best.
performance.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just wish that people appreciated this movie as much as you and I and a few other. And again, I know this is a very well loved movie.
This is a very well loved and popular movie, and it's an evergreen movie. I think that this will also be another movie like past ones we've been talking about that'll be passed down generation from generation.
Yep.
And I honestly think this only grows in stature because of Jack Black's increasing like draw and stardom, even in his 50s at this
Yeah.
point. You see that he was one of the biggest parts. He led Minecraft, which was a huge box office smash. Depending on no matter like what the quality of that film actually is, he led
Oh yeah.
one of the blockbusters of this year,
Yep.
and
You can
he
still do
is
that.
staying in the minds of young people and young filmgoers, and that's increased by his role in the Super Mario Brothers movie. I mean, he had one of the more notable roles in that. I didn't watch that movie, but I know that his Bowser song was
A big
a
thing.
big hit.
The
And
Jumanji franchise.
right, so he still has managed to stay in this kind of family zone,
Stay very relevant.
family friendly, and that's not only smart on his part, that's just given him, I'm sure, a lot of
A
money.
lot of money.
But I think that it was the start of his family oriented roles. But this movie has a bit of a bite to it. It has more of an edge with the PG-13 rating. But like you said, this part was made for Jack Black, and we've talked about this for a while. That over the years, this was made for Jack Black,
Yep.
and he was born to play this role. Like I think this is the cross section of everything that makes Jack Black so popular and so good is his musical talent with his comedic chops. And that's what makes this role in this film so special. And you're right. I mean, this is a movie, if I'm not mistaken, he was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Comedic Performance. He did not, I don't believe he won.
No.
And I could be wrong about that. I'm not entirely
About
sure.
being, yeah, for a Globe. Yeah.
But, you know, we rarely see comedies get noticed
Yeah.
in the Academy Award race, and I'm not saying that Jack Black should have been an Academy Award winner for this movie, but he definitely deserves more attention for
Dewey.
Dewey's a great role, and he put so much effort and his own little brilliance into this, and I love it.
The character of Dewey, you know, we're introduced to him, and you immediately kind of know who this guy is. I think in some form or another, people have met or been around or are related to or whatever to a Dewey, and that the complete dedication that Jack Black brings to the role is also what the character of Dewey is trying to bring in his life. He is completely dedicated to music, blindly dedicated, maybe delusionally dedicated to it, but he is completely dedicated to it. And I think that everyman quality is what really elevates this movie in comparison to the Minecraft movie or a Jumanji franchise or something like that. He actually feels like a real person here, even though he's a very zany version of himself. It feels grounded, and that's credit to both him and Mike White and Linklater. You know, I think it's like the perfect trinity of people to keep that character grounded and realistic without losing any of the punch or any of the intent behind his relationships with the kids. Going off that, you know, that initial scene with him, I think it's one of the better introductions to a character just because of how simple and succinct it is.
Absolutely.
There's no words the band is singing their music, but you don't need any dialogue to know who he is right away.
It's all looks. It's it's a great opening, like you said, when Linklater like pushes into this dingy dive bar.
Yep.
And you're going through the lobby, and then you're coming to the stage, and people aren't paying attention to this band. People are on their phones.
They're talking to each other.
Right, they're drinking, whatever. But Dewey is putting so much of himself into the performance when none of the other band members are.
You would think he's at Wembley.
Exactly.
Like
he's so over the top.
Yeah.
And he's so manic and energy filled. And his overconfidence helps his performance, but it also
alienates him.
It's definitely grating, and it alienates him from his other band members, and people that are watching him, they're kind of looking at him with a squint in their eye going like, I don't know what's up with this guy.
Why does he think he is?
Right.
We're at a bar.
Right.
You know, and that sequence, which again is a great intro, because you also have the titles going in the neon signs as you're weaving through the bar. But the sequence ends with him taking a stage dive and knocking himself out. Everything about his life is out of control, you know? And then we're introduced to the other characters, which we'll get to in a second. But in keeping with our modus operandi, so to speak, MVP of this movie does have to be Jack. It is Jack. I think he's in every single scene.
There are probably very few exceptions. You know, this movie is completely on his shoulders, and it doesn't go forward without him. You know, there are some sequences like with Principal Mullins and some of the kids that don't have Dewey in it, but every sequence revolves around him in some way. You know, either referencing him or referencing something that's going to be revealed about some of the characters around him at a different time. You know, it all revolves around him. It's this heliocentric movie that just feeds off of his energy, like the whole movie.
All the
And
kids feed off of him, for sure.
in the movie, the narrative definitely fluctuates with how Dewey is feeling and how confident he is, and how when he's teaching, confident in how he's performing in the band. You know, after that sequence where we meet the band and meet Dewey in the bar, and after his failed stage dive, he's on the ground, and then it slowly dissolves into him just sleeping head on pillow in his apartment with Mike White. And
not even a bedroom. He just has like
Yeah,
a,
right, his little-
a curtained
his
off
little
section in
curtain.
the living room
yeah,
where he has a mattress on the floor.
records and CDs and
Yep.
guitars and
All the
like
things
you
he
said,
loves.
with no dialogue. You're just like,
I know
this
this
guy's a
guy.
slacker. He's a loser
Yep.
who
Can't afford his own apartment. He
Right.
can't pay his own bills.
he's crashing with his best friend.
Wait years and years too late to be crashing with your best friend. You know, doesn't have his own bedroom, but doesn't seem to care. You know,
No, I think he's so dedicated to his craft that he doesn't care about bills.
in his mind, this is just what you have to do to make it.
Exactly.
You know, all of the artists lived on a mattress in a corner. You know, that
Self-destructive.
that's
like,
his mentality.
Exactly.
I'm sure. He's very quickly kicked out of this band. No vacancy. And that is the onus for the film. I think that's where it kicks off. You know, again, the movie immediately paints him as a loser, but then immediately puts that loser in a situation where you're like, oh man, that's too bad. You know, you do feel bad.
You do feel
for
bad
him.
for him. He's not an unlikable character because Jack Black can't really play unlikable.
No.
He has tried in other roles, but he's so lovable, and you do want to root for him, and, which is why that his character Dewey is so successful in this. You know, you're going with him the whole time, and you are rooting for the guy.
Yeah. And the other band member who kicks him out, he's speaking the truth. You know, they've replaced him with Spider, and you know, I would imagine Spider is a little more easily controlled. You know,
He'll keep his mouth shut and isn't going to take away from other members of the band.
he'll be a piece of the band and not the front man of the band.
Right.
And from then on, you're introduced to his Dewey's desperation. Still nothing is in the forefront other than music, but you see him immediately put into a mode where it's time to find a new band, create a new band, create the next thing. He tries to get his roommate, played by Mike White, of White Lotus fame, later in his career. But this was probably the first thing I've seen Mike White do as an actor. This is what I think of when I think of Mike. And he's great in this.
I think so too.
Him and Sarah Silverman, who plays his girlfriend, they aren't in it very much, but when they are in it, it definitely grounds Dewey in reality, and it lets you know how everybody would actually view him in
Right.
reality. They wouldn't be looking at him through rose-tinted glasses. Sarah Silverman especially is, get a job.
Get on, because those two are both careerists.
Yeah.
You know, Ned Schneebly, the Mike White character, has been sort of transitioning into being a careerist after, back in the good old days, of Dewey being a band
member.
maggot death,
Being
in a punk band,
Yep.
in a goth band.
Where they're all like wearing Kiss makeup. And,
Yeah, and all
it's like a bad
They look
bad
terrible.
homage.
They look terrible. But he's kind of given that up, and with the new Sarah Silverman girlfriend, transitioned into like adult life according to that, their
to those
aspirations
two.
and their lifestyle.
Yep.
And Dewey is steps behind. He hasn't
Miles behind.
Right.
He can't even pay his portion of the rent.
he hasn't gotten to where they are in their mindset.
Yep.
And the Sarah Silverman character especially, like you said, gets on him, like, get a job. You need to pay rent.
We
or
contribute
else,
to society. I work for the mayor.
which is
Ned works for children. Ned is a teacher. Ned is contributing. You're not doing anything.
And Dewey spits back out like, what about my music? Like, my music means something.
Yep.
Which is true, and like that is very.
That's the heart of this
That's
movie.
very important to the Dewey character.
Yeah.
Like, obviously by the end of the movie, you see him blossom into being this great teacher and leader of that team and of the kids, and he realizes his full potential there along with his music. You know, he can find a balance with his career and his love for music.
Yep.
But in the beginning, it doesn't seem like the Sarah Silverman or Mike White characters see that for him, or he
No.
doesn't see that for himself. Like, I don't want to be. He gets on Mike White for being a temp.
Yep.
He makes fun of him for being a temp or
A substitute teacher.
Substitute teacher,
Yep.
and that causes that whole dynamic causes a lot of friction internally, which then leads Dewey to,
Lashes out.
conning himself into the substitute teacher role at the prep school.
Yep. Ned, again played by Mike White, is a substitute teacher. He's out one day. Dewey is never out. He's at home in a robe, midday, with looking very disheveled, looking bad. Gets a call, understands that there's money on the line, messes with the phone a little bit, puts on a fake voice, and becomes a substitute teacher. And then from here, this is where the movie really goes into overdrive. The moment that he arrives at the prep school and meets Principal Mullins and the kids. The introduction is something that I have starred here.
Mm-hmm.
Just the introduction of the class, the moment that Mullins leaves, where he immediately reveals who he is to these kids. All right.
Right.
I'm hungover. Who has food here? Most of the kids don't even know what a hangover is. One of the kids does. And, does
that mean you're drunk? No, I was drunk yesterday.
And it means you're an alcoholic. And you wouldn't show up to work hungover unless you were an alcoholic.
You got a disease.
Yeah. And and while that kid probably does have a slight point, he isn't a full blown alcoholic, but there's an element there.
There definitely is.
There's an element there.
Mm-hmm.
And but I think what actually endears him to these kids is these are kids that not just a prep school, but the prep school, the best prep school in the state, run by Joan Cusack, Principal Mullins, who has a tight grip on behavior at the school, so to speak. So I think right away they see Dewey, who is probably sweaty, disheveled, hungover, and he's like, no, I have no pretense. This is who I am. Who has food here for me?
Yep.
I think in a weird way, I bet kids right away would say, oh, he's not like any other teacher we've
had. He's a big kid.
Yeah, he's like one of us.
Right.
He's not hiding. He is who he is. And I think that introduction scene with him letting them know who he is in a roundabout way is great. I think it's one of the best introductions, not just to him and his dynamic as a teacher.
Right.
But it really just introduces you to these kids too. And these are really talented children actors. Maybe you can touch on that a little bit here, but man, finding this many talented children must have been quite the process.
I think that's always a hard part in casting young actors, because at that age, they're all like 10, 11, 12. A lot of them are going to be unnatural, and they're not going to be able to, fully delve into their role and fully be directed by Linklater or fully get the script. But like the movie's narrative, the adults in the room, the Linklaters, the Jack Blacks, the Mike Whites, definitely like foster like bringing these kids up into like the acting world.
Yeah.
While also in the movie itself, Dewey is like trying to help them realize their full potential in like their music ability or their other abilities. He's trying to tap into something with each of them. Their passion. And, that goes hand in hand with the casting of the young actors and getting them on board. And the funny thing is with the kids, I can't imagine this was anything less than just a fantastic set to be on. Imagine being 10, 11 years old and being face to face with Jack Black, and he's turned up to 11. And Jack said this is one of the best sets he's ever been on, one of the most fun movies he's ever worked on. And I can believe it too. Yeah. And he has such great chemistry with the kids and vice versa.
Yeah.
Someone like Miranda Cosgrove is just unbelievably good in this movie. And I know people have other relationships with her, as do I, in, the Nickelodeon sitcoms of the day. But man, she is so talented and she goes toe to toe with Jack Black. And it's hard for anyone to match Jack's energy.
Yeah.
And a lot of these kids do.
And they do it pretty well.
In more ways than one.
And if they don't, it's because their character is supposed to be kind of withdrawn or a
Right.
little quieter,
Like Zach.
like Zach or Tamika. You know, these characters that are a little more self-conscious and a little more stay in the back of the classroom. And he's able to relate to them just as well as he's able to relate to the loud, brash ones like a Miranda Cosgrove or the drummer, Freddie. You know, he just has a real way with every single kid I wrote it down of meeting them where they're at. You know, and I think that's where a big part of the theme of this movie is found at, and where his character really starts to come to his own, where he does start very selfishly, like I want these kids to do this for me. These kids are going to make a rock band, and we are going to do this because I need money, I need to pay rent, blah blah blah. And very quickly, it really doesn't take long for him to start making real connections with them, and like we said, bringing out their passion. I think right after the Hangover speech, he gives them the man speech, which is up there for might be my favorite scene in the movie. It's definitely up there for me. If you're not familiar with School of Rock, if you're not familiar with that scene, he just essentially gives all of these kids they're way too young to be even thinking about the harsh realities of capitalism and following your dreams and failing at life or whatever. And he just kind of like unloads his manifesto onto these kids. And I think that's one of the best written Jack Black moments of this movie. Part of it may have been improvised. I don't know how much of that was Mike and how much of it wasn't. But I just wanted to touch on that really quickly before we move on to the more heartwarming stuff, because that's like the last really cold moment with him.
It is.
Before he starts to understand why he's there, you know. But I just think that is such a funny, well-written, well-acted, and well-reacted to scene. All the kids are just like genuinely worried about his health at this point. And it's day one. It's probably 10 minutes into meeting him. And he's marching around telling them to give up on their dreams.
Because look at
he's
him.
Failing at
because look at the beginning of the movie to where he's at in that sequence. You know, he's in the band, he's performing, he's doing what he loves.
He's having fun too.
And then he's broken down, he's kicked out of the band, and he's teaching. Something he never imagined that he'd be doing.
He was making fun of his friend for doing it.
Exactly. And these kids are, especially Miranda Cosgrove, was like, I want to be taught. Like, I am here to learn. And he's like, I'll teach you something. Like, you want to learn about life.
You want to learn about life.
Teaching like these like third graders.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And then he completely goes in this insane tirade. And then, you know, it's that
bring up Shamu the whale
and MTV and the man, like he's talking about the man, you know, about the principal, the president of the United States.
Down in the White House, he's the man.
But Principal Mullins, she's the man.
She's the man.
So he's going through this
authority issue, really.
Yeah, he's going through this like midlife crisis where he's like, I don't know where I'm at. Why am I here with these kids? You know, this is just to make a quick buck. Like, I don't actually want to teach these kids anything. I just want to sit in here and let them have a recess, which he repeats a lot.
For a couple days, I think, until he finds them at music class. But yeah, it's just, he's just laying on his, go
and have recess.
Go do recess.
Yeah.
He has no interest in them even as people at this point. And again, it does start very selfishly. But humans are inherently selfish, and maybe not that selfish, but hopefully. But, that selfishness quickly turns into genuine interest in not only their abilities, but who they are as people. Mm-hmm. At first, he's interested in Zach because Zach is a great guitarist. And he's watching him do like Spanish finger picking guitar work in music class through a window, and he's watching all the kids do their instruments. But the next day he sees Zach's father kind of like belittling Zach. Mm-hmm. And it goes from, oh yeah, I want to teach Zach this guitar riff to, no, I want to teach Zach how to like
stand up
for himself and find self-esteem.
Yep.
And there's moments with almost every kid, especially the kids in the band, but often kids outside of the band too, like Tamika, like the kid on the keyboard.
Lawrence.
Yeah. Lawrence is actually the first moment. But I say all this to say that, what starts off as kind of cold and cynical instantly becomes very sweet when he kind of he makes a conscious decision, Dewey, to like take himself out of it a little bit. Of course, the competition is always in the back of his mind, but you can tell very quickly he just loves fostering creativity
Yes.
and fostering passion, like we've talked about. That sequence where he is giving them all their roles and figuring out who they are and what they're about, what they can and can't do. You know, he's giggling and he's jumping around and squealing, and then he'll just go into a guitar solo, and you know, it's just the personification of like the love of whatever your love is.
Right.
Whether, you know, for you and
He's
me,
giddy.
it might be film, it might be this for that person. He's in the zone
Yes.
with these kids in that moment. What would one of the kids be your sixth man in the movie, or your Lester Bangs?
If I'm going with six man, I was thinking I have one. I'm sure you have this other person. I will go with Miranda Cosgrove for my six man. I think that she has such a presence about her in this movie, and you know, she's able to deliver the sophisticated dialogue very succinctly.
Yeah.
And she's given the most to do in that department of all the kids. Like, she is the adult in the room. And that goes throughout the entire movie. Summer is the adult. Even Dewey does not eclipse her. She's the one who's the most professional. She's the one who's raising her hand and saying, like, I'd like to be taught. Let's find out the class schedule for the day.
My parents don't pay all this.
Right.
For me,
She's the responsible.
For me not to, you know, get something out of it.
Which eventually translates into her being named the band manager, kind of jokingly, but eventually, like, no, she's actually like doing a good job.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a heightened version of a little kid being this adult in the room, but she is such a great little actress. And going back to like my relationship and a lot of people's relationship with her in like the Nickelodeon shows, she has really good timing. That's something about her that's really special. And after this last rewatch, I was the most impressed with her work out of all the kids.
Yeah.
And even though there's some really nice little performances from the kids, in totality, I think that she is by far the best, and it does not surprise me in the slightest that she got the most
Had
work.
a career.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, I think she's my sixth man. I think that her role is perfectly suited for her performance style and affectation.
Yeah, 100%. It is like it really is like a miniature version of Megan from Drake and Josh, but without like the evil tilt.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Megan in Drake and Josh was always like one step ahead of everybody. But instead of like chaotic good, it was chaotic evil. You know, and this, she's not chaotic anything. She's just, you know, very type A. You know, I mean, towards the end of the film, you know, Dewey says, you know, she could run for president of the United States this year, and I'd vote for her. You know, I mean, yeah, she's definitely the best kid. I do have a different six man, and I know you know who it is, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
I just, you know, I wanted to take a moment to focus on all these kids because I don't know any of their names as actors really, other than Miranda Cosgrove.
I don't either.
So it's going to be, you know,
Their characters' names.
But they're just great. Every role feels like a real kid, you know? There's the awkward kid, there's the brash kid in Freddie, there's Tamika, who doesn't even reveal her gift until midway through the film. There's a lot of different types of kids, and they all feel real, you know? They all feel lived in. They all feel also appropriately dumb for whatever age they're supposed to be at for believing Dewey, you know? They all buy into Dewey.
That's a very good point.
You know, while they also, you know, feel, you know, like kids, and kids
They feel like kids.
They feel like kids, and that's great. Yeah, Miranda's definitely the best of them, but I also think the young man who played Freddie, who was unfortunately passed on a few years ago, the drummer of the band, I find Freddie really great in this. The young backup singer with glasses and braces.
Yes.
Who has a little bit of...
she had a little bit of a career,
she has like a little bit of attitude.
Yes, I forgot her name.
Alicia.
Alicia.
Yeah.
Yep.
all of them really do get a moment to shine. Fancy Pants, the young effeminate kid, has a lot of moments to shine, and a lot of moments where there's like respectful treatment towards just every kid. You know,
Right.
like when he
hears out each and every kid. He doesn't
No matter what.
belittle them after a long time of establishing these relationships with them. He does not talk down to them.
Nope.
He helps them. Like towards the end, when a kid is really worried about the light show and putting on a good show, like with all the graphics and the smoke machines, he's like you're gonna do fine. Like you're gonna be okay.
You got this.
You got this. And
Yep.
he instills that confidence in
all of
each
them.
and every kid.
And he does it in a different way for each kid. Because again, he meets them where they're at, not where he's at.
Which shows how truly intelligent that character, like emotionally intelligent
Very
that
emotionally
character
intelligent.
is.
Yep.
And I think the thing that goes unsaid in this movie is that Dewey sees a little bit of himself in each of the kids.
Yep.
Like when he sees Zach's dad belittling him, I bet Dewey, and you could see a character like Dewey internally thinking like, I've been there. I've been there
everybody
before.
in my life. Everybody's been,
You know,
yeah.
the confidence that Tamika lacks in the beginning. He's like, I've been there. Like he sees him a little piece of himself in each one of these kids, and he wants to either tweak or help, like foster their inner confidence and their ability, their like natural abilities and talents.
And he has no issue putting himself down to make them feel better.
Right. Very self-deprecating.
Or wearing his flaws on his sleeve so that they know they're not the only ones dealing with it. Tamika talks about being self-conscious about her weight. And he immediately look at me. You know, when he's talking to Lawrence, you know, who was worried about, I'm not cool enough. Nobody wants to talk to me. He's like, people didn't think I was cool either. And then I joined a band, man. And whether that was true or not, he just wanted to, you know, he still gives him that hope in that moment. And right away, Lawrence like, okay, I'll do it. You know, and you see his whole demeanor shift, and you know, he's just so good at pumping the troops up.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I could go on for days just about how sweet Dewey is, how dumb, and maybe how delusional he is. Maybe very few people in his life might understand his artistic pursuit. They don't understand what it means to him. You and I were talking about it right before, you know, there's a moment with Mike White where he's like, music is my life, man. What do you want me to do? And it's like the most real moment from Jack. 'Cause it's like, this isn't an option for me. It might be an option for you. It might have been an option for these people. It's like, I will be doing music in some form until I die, you know, and that's not an attitude that a lot of people can relate to, but kids can, because kids always have those dreams. Dewey's unique in that he's held on to his.
Yes.
And the world has told him this whole time that holding on to that dream is a waste of time, a waste of energy. In Dewey's world, he's taken it too far. Again, the man can't pay rent. You know, he is a mess. But there's a lot of value in, you know, holding on to your dreams and holding on to what you really dearly care about. And I think that's really what Dewey represents at the end of the day, and what each and every relationship represents.
The movie is built around that idea. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, that's what drew creatives like Linklater to this, who didn't deal as much with these like ever-present ideas in all of his films. So he's usually a pretty experimental filmmaker, and I think that's what drew him to this Mike White material, to where, you know, he gets to work with someone like a Jack Black who can instill these ideas into like the set and the performances of the kids and this atmosphere around the movie. And also like that's what kind of makes this movie evergreen and makes it last with the culture and made it a pretty big box office hit. You know, that idea of holding on to your dreams and not giving up, and no matter how ridiculous you may look or sound at times, you know, one way or another, it can be done if you just work hard at it and are passionate enough.
You know, and yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that is the theme of the movie. But you know, this movie really walks a tightrope. And with any other performer, any other cast of kids, this could have been a movie of the week,
Right.
or like a Disney
A
Channel
Disney original
original,
movie. Yeah,
or
totally. Totally.
and
That's a great point.
it just that tight. This is one of those movies that I would have loved to be a fly on the wall for, not just for like the vibes, because I guarantee energy was great the whole movie, but just to like see the balancing act and see how Linklater really put this together. 'Cause, I mean, it's a technically impressive movie. There's not one shot that's crazy. There's not
No.
one shot in the whole movie that's
Very
like,
simply
very
shot.
simply shot and blocked and lit.
Yep.
But that lack of thrill, I think, really works for a movie like this, where you want
Yes.
to focus on the feelings and the characters themselves. I guess I can, since you've given your six man, Joan is mine. Joan
Yeah.
Cusack
Of course.
as Roz Mullins, the principal. I think Principal Mullins is one of the best principals ever put in like a high school, middle
Yeah.
school, elementary. One of the best principals ever in film history. I think a lot of principals are, especially like the 80s, 70s, are like, it's like this bald guy who looks like he used to be a cop and he's just cranky all the time. When in reality, I think a principal is more aligned with Roz, like that high-strung anxiety
Yep.
regarding all of the kids and all of their education, all of the parents. She cares about her school.
She does.
She cares to a point of near being unable to function herself. And I think that there is something really sweet about that with her. But on the other side of that sweetness with this performance is a really weird, really lonely, but like very also emotionally intelligent woman. Once Jack Dewey gets her walls down. But yeah, I think Joan has to be my sixth man, just because every moment that she's in is either very, very funny or completely unhinged or relatable. She really, after she has a couple of drinks with Dewey and they're seen together in the front seat of his van, where she really reveals what she's dealing with. It's really powerful acting. Cusack is always a performer who, I would love to see her in everything. There's never a bad time to see Joan.
Right.
And in this, she's just such a unique character. Principal Mullins with her high-strung energy. She's lecturing teachers about the turkey sandwiches. One of them moved over and touched one of the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I know that this is a big deal. She has that, but then she also has her Stevie Nicks fandom that Dewey brings out of her. And every moment with her is great. And especially at the end of the movie where she buys into the band after seeing their performance and she's going backstage. All right. She's as warm as Jack Black in her own way. And I think the movie uses her the perfect amount. I think she doesn't overstay her welcome. And what are your thoughts on Joan's performance?
Joan Cusack is one of the most interesting performers I can remember seeing in movies. A very talented actress with another really talented brother. I really enjoy John Cusack, both Chicago kids. Her voice is what really sets her apart. She has this really interesting voice that really lends itself to her feeling kind of out of place. And whenever the school is her world, is that character's world, and she talks about feeling this so much pressure from students, faculty, and the parents.
Yep.
And whenever she's outside of the classroom setting or out of her office, you can feel how uncomfortable she is, because
She doesn't want to be that authoritarian person.
no, she says in the van with Dewey, like, I used to be fun. I was a fun person.
I used to be a fun person.
Until I got too deep in the weeds with this job, and this is
pressure.
my whole life, And
Pressure has turned her into something that she never wanted to be.
She doesn't want to be. And when she's and she eventually reveals this later, like before the parent-teacher conference night, saying to Dewey, like, I feel the most comfortable with you.
Because Dewey's real.
Because Dewey's real, and it's not, and he's not trying to get something out of her. Well, he is by getting the kids to go to the Battle of the Bands concert and performing.
No,
but
no, they're going to see the Philharmonic.
the Philharmonic,
They're doing Bach,
the
and
education, the
and
educational,
Beethoven.
the
Yeah.
educational
Yeah.
field trip. But he makes her feel comfortable, and she's allowed to kind of sing along to Stevie Nicks in the bar,
And have a drink and relax.
or be incredibly honest about how she views herself and how she doesn't like herself
At all.
at that stage of her life.
Yep.
You know, and this might sound outlandish, but I think, you know, Joan Cusack has been Oscar nominated for other like comedic roles, like heavily comedic roles in Working Girl and In and Out. I think she's good enough to warrant like either a lot of awards attention. I think she is so inherently unique as a performer.
Very perceptive performer.
Very perceptive, and I think she knows her eccentricities.
Yeah.
And she weaponizes it.
She seems very comfortable in who Joan is.
Right.
In reality.
Right, in
know?
reality. And she knows how her cadence comes off, and she knows how to play into her like awkwardly intimidating side.
Yeah.
You know, where she is incredibly socially, you know, inept or off balance as Roz, you know, Rosalind Mullins, and you know, that weird dynamic is eventually resolved. You know, she does feel better about, you know, her students, you know, her students' output, their creative output with that concert, you know, makes her feel proud as that school's leader. And
yeah, when she's like, I am the principal of that
right,
band.
and she's not,
and she's wearing that as like a badge
of honor,
Yeah.
and like her love of Stevie Nicks and her past love of music is kind of reawakened by Dewey and, you know, his teaching of the kids. And even though this is all happening under her nose, and Dewey asks if she's mad at the end, and she's like, I'm furious, like this
I'm
went on.
horrified.
But it does bring something else out of her that lets her begin to get out of her shell, you know, to get back into reality instead of staying in the school's world.
There's more to life than the grade book.
Absolutely.
You know, there's a lot more to life than the X's and O's. And, you know, it took her losing a whole class of students to figure that out, and, you know, having all those parents hate her and follow her to the venue and do all that. But, yeah, Joan, she's got this Midwestern charm, this Midwest tilt to her voice. And like you said, she weaponizes it, and she does it in almost every role. She is not the same character, but she's always very warm most of the time. Yeah, she's definitely my winner for 6, man. We haven't talked about the music in this movie a lot. A lot of great classic rock tracks, either the full tracks or just little instrumental portions of them. An instrumental portion of Back in Black by AC/DC plays when they're doing the band lineup, but no words from it. And I think that's kind of cool. You usually don't see that. You know, if bands are going to license their music, usually they want the lyrics included. But I mean, you have songs from Cream in here. You have a Bowie song. You got a Zeppelin song in here,
which is a huge hit.
In which, a time in which you were never getting a Zeppelin song. In fact, I don't know if you've seen this, but they put on a concert. Jack Black put on a concert, and he invited the surviving members of Zeppelin. And in the middle of the show, got on hands and knees and begged them for the rights to the Immigrant Song.
Oh, I
you know. But beyond that, there's also the song that Dewey plays for the kids. You know, the Legend of the Rent. That's half.
The Legend of the Rent.
That's a great musical moment. So, alongside the theme of following your dreams, there's also a lot of really cool music. Not just Dewey's song, but the song that Zach writes that they end up singing as their final song at the Battle of the Bands. Do you have a favorite musical moment in this movie? Either licensed, or it could be the song that Dewey, or, you know.
I was just reminded of one as you were mentioning all that.
Yeah.
The montage set to Bonzo Goes to Blitzburg.
That's my
from the
favorite
Ramones.
one too. Yeah.
I think that is one of my favorite needle drops in movies. You know, just the sound and during that montage. It's during a montage when Dewey is finally getting to the kids and helping them along in their musical abilities and is teaching them, like giving them slideshows of rockers and showing them videos and helping them, be performers and show themselves. And
You see like Zach at home practicing.
yeah,
You see Freddie alone in the entire classroom, probably at recess. And he's just watching a drummer, and he's like hyper focused on it. Yeah, I thought we might have that the same. I think it's the most effective. The Immigrant Song could be like my number
that's
2.
another one for me too.
But this actually has like emotional depth to it.
It's a rallying cry
Yeah.
for the kids. And I do listen to that song outside of School of Rock, and because of School of Rock that I have such an emotional tie, which is kind of the magic of musical needle drops in movies. You're kind of brought back to that time when you're watching the movies, and I don't know, that one is really special to me, so I think that would have to be mine.
Yeah, that's me too. It's completely fine. We can agree on that one. We didn't have any in common last week, I don't think.
I don't think we did either.
But I don't know how you could have a different one in this movie. I think it's just the perfect song choice, the perfect energy, and again, it is the rallying cry. It ties up the first half of the movie. It's like now.
That's a great
It's
point.
like now, the band, they're like this. They're like a family in a weird way.
There's no turning back.
Yep.
Yep.
We're doing this, and every kid is involved, and every kid is like deeply in love with it at this point. And yeah, I think that's just not only of this movie. It's one of the best musical montages. It's perfect. But a couple of other musical moments that I wanted to, is when Tamika finally sings, and she sings a part of Chain of Fools, and she's by far the most talented singer of the girls who auditioned, but she just didn't have the confidence at the beginning of the movie. I think that part is great. The step off sequence where they make that really like haphazard song about Zach's father is great.
Heal Me, I'm Heartsick.
Yeah.
That's an actual good song.
Yeah.
That's on the soundtrack, and I do listen to the soundtrack occasionally. And
Yep.
the No Vacancy song, even though we're not supposed to like that band, I think the song is pretty solid.
Yeah, it's
for what
very
it is.
reminiscent of like that mid-aughts alt rock type of vibe. We focused a lot on some of the themes and I guess more of the serious parts of this movie so far, but there are also a lot of just random funny jokes out of nowhere. And Dewey going on his little rant with the other teachers at the lunchroom about Yo-Yo Ma's cousin, and giving the other guy grief for being a gym teacher.
One asking the kids what are their influences. Christina Aguilera,
Liza Minnelli.
Puff Daddy, and Liza Minnelli, and he's like, he gets so mad. He's like, "What do they teach in this place? How about Zeppelin or all those other hard rock bands?"
Don't tell me you've never gotten the let out.
Yep.
Jimmy
Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, ring any bells?
But Liza Minnelli. No.
Who are genuinely talented people, but according to Dewey, like, no, this is a rock band.
The theater, Liza Minnelli in the theater world. Yeah,
I love that.
Everything with Patty and Ned is really funny. We touched on them earlier, but almost every line from Sarah Silverman is really funny.
Yes.
And she's not usually a performer that I care for too much. I think she's perfect in this movie.
Yes.
She might be a Lester Bangs candidate. I think she probably won't get it for me, but she's up there. She's perfect in her role. But yeah, this movie also we've touched on the heart, but it really is funny. It has a little bit of everything.
I think we're underselling the comedy. This is a comedy first.
It is.
It's hard to like talk about it in a podcast context, like just listing
without
off
just
jokes
like quoting things.
Right. But it is genuinely funny, and it is a laugh out loud comedy. How can it not be with someone like Jack Black at the forefront?
It's just when Jack is talking to, and Dewey is talking to, it's so crazy because he is Dewey.
They're synonymous.
And Dewey is Jack.
Yeah.
It's like he's not playing a character, but when he's talking to Tamika. And it goes to very serious. Being insecure about your weight is a real thing. And then it's like, but look at me, I'm sexy and chubby, man. It's like, people don't want anything to do with me until I get up on stage, and then look at me. All these ladies want to party.
They want to party with
They want to
Aretha.
party with Aretha.
Yep.
So that's also a very unique part of Jack. Go from heartwarming to funny in one line.
In like a millisecond.
In a millisecond.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. The sequence where they all pretend to be terminally ill is really funny.
It is very funny.
It's not funny for the two judges who don't know, but the moment they get away from it and he's like, they celebrate and he's like, no, you guys are dying.
You guys are dying.
There is a lot of comedy to this, and that immediately does roll into the Immigrant Song, which we touched on. Another needle drop Edge of 17 needle drop.
That one is genuinely important for the narrative.
Joan Cusack, yes.
That kind of turns their relationship around.
Yes.
When he takes her to that like alt bar wherever they are, and he puts it on the jukebox, and knowing that she's a big Stevie Nicks fan.
Yeah.
And then she immediately gets excited, and they both start singing along at the table.
Yep.
But yeah, that is a great one.
She was just so white. Oh. But yeah, the moment Roz gets a little bit of booze at her, I also I love the face she makes after her first sip of beer.
After she coughs.
She's like, she like twitches, But that's just another needle drop, and also that is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Them going out. It probably won't win my best scene, but I'll just bring it up as a runner-up, so to speak. Who would be your Lester Bangs, the most with the least for this one?
So I hope we don't have the same one for this. I think it's Mike White for sure. Mike White is another interesting performer that this film employs. And I mean, he's also a talented writer and filmmaker, obviously behind, the massively popular White Lotus. And he's never been bigger and more famous. Back then he was just this writer, sometimes actor, more writer.
Yeah.
And his like quiet intensity works very well here. Like there's a lot bubbling underneath that he can't voice because it's either Sarah Silverman droning him out or Jack Black is always telling him like, what are you doing? He's like,
with her,
with her, and why are you trying
giving
to
up on your
be a
dreams?
Professional? Yeah. And so he kind of holds it all in, but he has a really good chemistry with Jack. Yeah. Like for sure, you can tell like they establish that friendship outside of the movie and inside the movie, and it does feel real. And even though they're complete opposites, especially performing wise, I think Mike is just a really interesting person. I will take a second. Mike White is a very interesting person just in culture, not only because of White Lotus, but also because of Survivor and his role in Survivor. And I think he is awesome in his season of Survivor and very funny and witty. And I'm excited for him to be on Survivor season 50. But he's someone who, like, immediately when he was announced to be on Survivor, David versus Goliath, I was like, Ned Schneebly is on Survivor. Like, he's going to be my number one that I'm going to be rooting for. And I think it just speaks to how Mike comes off. He's just kind of this dorky nerd who, but in real life, he has a lot of, he's uber confident, and to his detriment at times.
Yeah, for sure.
But I really enjoy his performance in this, and he does a great job writing too.
Yes. I mean, I think that to me is his main thing here. I think he wrote one hell of a screenplay. I don't know the name of the actor, but the young man who plays Zach, who is a weird choice because that's more of a six. He's probably in the movie more than Joan Cusack, but he has very little to do in this movie in terms of other than his song, so to speak. But the emotional moments that he does have, I think this young man sells them quite well. The moment where he goes up to Dewey at the lunch table and he's like, "That was a really good lesson." He's like genuinely like, it's like, this is somebody I'm looking up to. And he doesn't have that at home with his dad who doesn't understand him or doesn't want to understand him. And he's not like the best actor out of the kids. But with what he's been given and how much of the movie is kind of trying to hinge on Zach, I think it's kind of a hard role to be given. I think it's the hardest role out of the kids. I think Miranda Cosgrove's role is just so natural for her. I think this role, it really needs him to go from zero to hero by the end. And in some ways, he accomplishes that as an actor. In some ways, he doesn't. But I still just wanted to give, again, I don't know his name as an actor. I don't know any of their names other than Miranda. But I just wanted to shout him out because it's a difficult role. I don't think it's the most well-written role out of the kids. And for him to have to try to go toe-to-toe, and I know it's kind of going against the grain of the award, so to speak, but watching it last night, I don't think too many kids could have really hit that one out of the park. I think it's the most undercooked out of the kids.
It's very deadpan too.
Yeah, and somehow the most undercooked kid turned out to be the main kid in the movie.
Yeah.
And
sure.
I think that puts a lot of pressure on him as a performer. By the end of the movie where he's having fun and playing and he's actually smiling and emoting, I think you actually see that like that was supposed to be the journey. You know, I think it might have taken one more scene somewhere in this movie to like really give that, like they all, like even Tamika gets that moment backstage with him where that doesn't really happen with Zach. It's all like hinted at. Mm-hmm. Jack doesn't like go up to him like, yeah, I saw your dad doing this, whatever, you know. It's all hinted at with Zach. There's a lot of like subtext.
Zach's big moment is writing the song that they all perform.
Yes.
That's when he's allowed to really shine.
When I hear it, Kurt Cobain.
Right. And, you know, I have to agree. I think that it is kind of an undercooked part in terms of how it's written. It's pretty flat. It's pretty, dare I say, stereotypical with like, oh, I'm kind of getting bullied, like I'm the most quiet, you know, it's kind of, I have a tough home life, just trying to bake my passions into my home life, but it's not working, you know, my parents aren't supportive. But he does have a weird energy with Jack to where Jack is trying to like break through that hard internal shell he gives off.
Yeah.
Just as a performer, you know, he's really quiet. And he's very unassuming.
Jack does a lot of like poking. He's like, come on, what would you do? Someone's pushing you around. Come on.
And like, I bet in performing, Jack also noticed that in the kid and tried to kind of get him out of his shell a bit. And that does work.
I think it works for the movie for sure. Yeah, maybe I really did. There's just so many of those kids. I couldn't remember any of their names. I looked at the Wikipedia and I looked at the cast list. I don't know.
A lot of these kids, this is their only movie.
They never acted again. Exactly.
Yeah, this is it.
So
especially for someone like who played Zach, that was his only movie.
Yeah, most of them. You know, funny enough, after Zach's song, that's when the movie falls apart for Dewey. He goes home, and that's when the real Ned gets a paycheck from Horace Green. He's like, I've never even worked there. He picks up the phone, and Dewey, you know, Dewey and him have that heart-to-heart in which he has that quote that we brought up earlier. A really underrated moment that I really appreciate from that scene is, you know, right when Silverman walks in, he's like, got a hot date. Then he walks past her and he immediately turns around.
Like, don't tell her.
And then she looks, he's like, bye. And then she immediately, you know.
She can clock, she reads Ned immediately, and Ned crumbles, and which eventually gets Dewey in trouble at school.
And so he goes, and I think he goes there probably in the back of his mind knowing this could be trouble.
It kind of feels like that.
You know? Mm-hmm. And he gives them this speech. At first he does attempt to, he's like, I've been teaching them math, science, reading, Latin,
Spanish, like
math. He repeats math a few times.
All of the easiest buzzword, you know, subjects.
It's very clear to the audience and to every parent in this parent-teacher conference that this guy is not a teacher, has not been teaching. They start bringing up the CDs he's been giving the kids, and you know, why is my daughter all of a sudden obsessed with David Geffen? You know, just these like really weird questions. And you know, the cop it appears out of the window, and then I think this is maybe leads into my favorite part of the movie is the speech he gives them, just about how much he does love these kids, and you know, he knows he's been caught, it's over, it's done. But before he leaves, he's gonna let all these kids know what they are to him. That might be my favorite scene. Even the cop tries to interrupt him. He's like, no. Even to the cop, he's like, no, give me a minute. And he just keeps going. I really do love that scene. If it's not that scene, for my favorite scene, it might be the man's speech.
Mm-hmm.
But in that vein, we're almost to the end of the movie. But what's your favorite scene or sequence in School of Rock?
You made reference to it earlier, but I think
High pen.
after the man's speech, Dewey lets them all go to music class, and then he eventually sees them performing, and he does this eyebrow thing in the window, and he's like, you can tell he's like, he has an idea.
He's scheming.
He knows what he's about to do.
Yep.
And brings all of his instruments in, and when he's giving them their individual roles and like helping them through
the lineup.
Yep. Like Lawrence with the piano, Zach with the guitar, Katie with the bass, Freddie with the drums, and the backup singers. And it just shows that sequence begins to show how intentional Dewey is.
And how he sees people.
And he like can read people so well. And obviously he sees in the music class what they're doing and what instruments they're playing. But he really goes out on a limb and says like, guys, like these are your roles in my band. Like I'm the front man, but you guys have to all be at your best. And you guys each play a significant role in the whole success.
Just because you're not in the band doesn't mean you're not in the band.
Another great sequence is when the kids are all lined up, and Back in Black is playing, and he's doing all the nicknames,
which I would imagine were probably all improv by him.
It probably was half written, half improv. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
But I think when he's getting them to and then all play "Smoke on the Water" by Deep Purple, another good needle drop.
Yep.
That is probably my favorite. I think, he gets so giddy by the end, and then he launches into like his crazy performance, and all the kids are sitting there and don't know what to do.
They have no idea what's happening.
They're kind of like blank faced. They're like, what is going on with this guy? But you can tell like his plan is taking shape.
Yep.
But he also manages to make we touched on this a lot, but he makes all the kids feel at home and at ease, and
every single one gets a role that they should get.
He's not overstretched, like he's not overusing them in some way. He's using them all perfectly.
100%. I mean, also, I think the final show is also a fun sequence. Absolutely. It wouldn't be my winner, but it's just a fun sequence. Overall, it just the culmination of it all is fun to watch. I think the crowd, being disappointed that no vacancy wins. Other than that one guy, I really like.
Yeah.
No
the
vacancy.
Guy who pumps his fist.
Yeah,
and then they all look at him.
They all just stare at him.
Yeah.
I found that great.
Definitely one of my most rewatched. Like the final, I've definitely watched that on YouTube a lot, and I always look forward to that final performance.
Because you also get everything with Roz going backstage. Yeah. You get Spider flirting with Roz. Mm-hmm. Spider, he could also be a 6-man candidate.
Lester Bangs.
With the most.
If there was a category just a step below Lester Bangs, for like two scene stealer,
scenes and that's it,
and like a scene stealer,
yeah,
he would be in because he is so
just
dumb.
Wearing this crazy leather.
It just goes basically his sleeves and ends at his neckline.
Yeah, so his nipples are completely.
He looks ridiculous.
It's the craziest shirt I've ever seen.
He's hitting on Roz.
So you're the principal of this band.
Yep.
That's cool.
You're pretty hot. You're hot.
You're hot.
She goes, "Are you warm?
Are you warm?" And that's the last you see of any of them. But also the credit sequence is also something to touch on, I think, because footage goes through the entire credits. Mm-hmm. It really is like this improv moment where they're singing. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll, but Jack Black is also breaking the wall.
He's kind of breaking the fourth wall.
And he's talking to the audience, telling them to go home. The movie's over. Mm-hmm. Drive home safe. All this weird stuff. The kids clearly have no idea what he's about to do because they're all laughing and trying to like repeat after what he's saying, and they can't. Mm-hmm. So I always find that sequence fun because that's just all Jack.
Yeah, rarely do you watch a movie from front to back and you watch, like, I feel comfortable watching the entire credit sequence.
Yep.
Like, it is part of the movie in a way, even though it does break that fourth wall.
You also get the little Mike White moment
When he's teaching the little
when
kids.
Ned Schneebly has decided not to be a substitute teacher, and he's teaching like the preschool version of School of Rock. And there's all these like toddlers with tiny little guitars, way too young to even be attempting guitar. I mean, I guess not though. And there's that's kind of
That's
right.
basically right.
You know?
He doesn't know how to do it.
It's a
but-
cute little moment that kind of bookends his character too. But at the end of the day, we've gone over it a few times now. It's just this movie just blends and skirts a line that is really, of course, intentional, but really impressive. The more I watch this movie as an adult, the more I'm astounded by how it all turned out. On paper, I don't think this is a movie that should work.
No, it shouldn't. It should
But
be
again, it's elevated by Jack.
a movie of the week or a
Stop it.
Disney Channel original. It has that. The narrative lends itself to those kind of less than great, formulas. But it is such a special movie that does genuinely touch me. Like it is touching. And I saw every once in a while when watching the final performance and seeing the kids fully blossom into these great performers, I sometimes get a tear in my eye thinking like these kids have got their evolution really means a lot to not only the Dewey character, but obviously to themselves and to their parents, because their parents are in the audience. And it is it's a fun movie, it's funny, and it is heartwarming.
And it's one of those that doesn't age. It can't really age.
No.
There's nothing about it that like is tied to any one time period. I think you see Summer on a cell phone briefly.
Yeah, but that's like really the only thing that really brings it back to the early aughts.
You wouldn't really know that Dewey could be a teacher, somebody in the '90s, could be in the aughts, it could be today. There are a lot of little directorial choices, I'm sure, because Linklater does, in my opinion.
I'm glad we mentioned him. I was just going to mention him.
He just really, well, of course he has a sense of tone. He always has a sense of tone and character. But man, does School of Rock feel grounded in reality. And it really, I don't know how he does it sometimes. This kind of sticks out in his filmography.
It does.
It's like,
it's his most accessible work.
Yes.
And the biggest moneymaker. The Jack Black canon was kind of established with this movie.
Yeah.
And Linklater has a big part in that. But like I said before, he mainly was a more like experimental filmmaker who...
He was known for the Before trilogy.
Obviously Dazed. Dazed and Confused. He does work well with youth. He has a way with working with like the youth and the youthful cultures of the day, like with Dazed and Confused, Everybody Wants Some.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Boyhood. He has a way of tapping into that childhood or adult, like beginning of adulthood.
Adolescent, yeah.
Like what they're all going to be talking about. And he's kind of the master of the hangout movie in a way. Obviously, that goes without saying with the Before trilogy and all of his other great work. He's a fantastic filmmaker. But this one oddly doesn't feel like a Linklater movie in a way.
I was just going to say that it doesn't feel
like it was directed by him.
Nope.
Which I wonder, just with him looking back in his career, how that happened, how he looks at it. I'm sure he's like, I got a great paycheck from it, and it is probably his most popular movie and well seen.
Yeah.
I do think it's one of his best. I obviously some other movies of his are better, like
they're
artistically, yeah. And they do maybe hold a little bit more of like the cinematic weight, right?
For sure. Yeah, this is one of those movies that I would love to know more about. I didn't do like a little deep dive. I just watched it this time, but it every time I pick up something new, a new moment from Jack, a new moment from one of the kids, a new little background moment, even a new little thing that Joan Cusack pulls off, it's instantly rewatchable. It's endlessly rewatchable, which is a tagline on this show. But it's the truth, it's a great pick-me-up movie. It's a great anytime
Yes.
movie. It's a great family movie. It's a great movie to show a friend if your friend hasn't seen School of Rock.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those movies that you can recommend to just about anybody.
Basically anyone. That's a really good.
There's like very little in the way of inappropriate anything. I mean, there's some language, I guess. I think, Summer at one point, makes reference to groupies are sluts. They sleep with the band.
Sleep with the band. Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it's really a pretty innocent movie. A lot of childish innocence. It really just it hits your heart.
Mm-hmm.
What is there anything else you want to discuss about School of Rock?
That's a good question. Well, I kind of want to touch on Jack Black before we end. I think some of his best work was with Linklater. I think he's obviously terrific in School of Rock. I think he's great in Bernie, the mockumentary. And I kind of wish that Jack maintained the balance of kind of like commerce and art.
Yep.
I wish that I get that he's trying to be in these big blockbusters, comedies, and be the most, seen by a wide group of audiences. Young, old. Like a lot of people went to go see like his childhood-leaning movies and Minecraft or Super Mario Brothers and Jumanji, which is his stuff that he's been putting out recently, and he's good in all of it. I'm sure. Oh, I haven't seen some of it.
But there's a reason you haven't seen.
Yeah,
most of it. There's no interest.
The desire is not there.
Yep.
Maybe it's probably just because of my age and where I'm at.
Well, he's doing the Kevin Hart thing. He's doing the Rock thing. Where he's doing the Chris Pratt thing, the Ryan Reynolds thing.
Ironically,
the same character every time.
You mentioned The Rock. I mean, The Rock is going to be in The Smashing Machine, and I hope that's great, and it might be Oscar nominated. And I hope one day, because I know Jack knows that. I hate to say like better than what he's been in recently. I think he is though. I think
that's
he's kind of. I don't know if
goes
it's
without saying.
Maybe, as he's getting older, he's like he's a family man. He has kids and a wife, and maybe he wants to make things that are more leaning towards those sensibilities. Yeah. But I miss him being straight up in better movies,
in good movies,
with working with interesting filmmakers. Because he is really talented, and
I would take him even making like a Shallow Hal right now. He doesn't even make, and Shallow Hal is not a good movie.
Broad comedies,
I kind
of miss Jack. Yeah. I know he's still ever present in movie culture,
but now he's like a meme. He's
meme.
Become like he just plays himself.
Mm-hmm. And I really don't. I don't even like thinking that. Like I think Jack Black is such a special performer. For me, and I'm sure to a lot of other people. And his earlier output is better. And I think that this is just the peak. We didn't even mention peak career moment. I mean, that and MVP go hand in hand.
Hopefully this isn't the peak for him.
I hope it's not.
He kept... I don't know. Hopefully this isn't the peak. Some people would say that he peaked with Tropic Thunder, because Tropic Thunder is such a big deal. Mm-hmm. Some people would say Tenacious D is his peak. He's got different fan bases and different. I'm sure now Minecraft is a new peak for him.
Definitely box office wise.
It's all about perspective. Mm-hmm. I think for you and me, it's most definitely this.
Which is a good way to end. This is his best work. This was the role he was born to play. I don't think anyone else could have mixed the musical with the comedic in such a unique and entertaining and thoughtful way that, in other like teacher movies, it is more of like, I'm going to help the troubled inner city kids, or I'm going to help
that Hilary Swank movie.
Freedom Writers, or, I can go on and on about these movies.
I love Dead Poets Society, but that's, in and of itself, that's also, I'm going to go help these, there's a certain...
He kind of Jack in putting together this team, if you will, is kind of just like this mini sports movie when he's like, no, you guys can, like the underdog sports movie, like you
Yep.
guys can do it. And he gets them to like the highest point of their young lives, you know, like being on stage, and whether they're on the stage or behind the stage or Summers managing them.
It's like LeBron dragging those '07 Cavs to the finals against the Spurs,
Right.
and then losing to those Spurs, aka
Yeah.
no
No,
vacancy.
AKA no, that's a great analogy.
Yeah, dude. He did everything he could to get them there, but just couldn't get a W.
He did.
You know.
Yeah. LeBron's legacy lives on, as does Jack Black's.
No. Well, we'll leave it with that. You know,
Yeah.
again, School of Rock is just such a fun time. Again, we haven't really covered too many movies that are not exactly popular. Almost Famous is probably the least popular one we've done
Probably.
so far.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people have seen School of Rock, but if you haven't, it's streaming on Hulu, I believe. There's never a bad time to give it a go if you haven't seen it. And if you haven't seen it in a long time, show it to your kids, show it to somebody. It's such a fun time. And, you know, it's always good to watch a movie that's, you know, inspiring and propels you to, you know, follow your passions and think about your dreams a little more, you know. But with that, we'll leave it. Thank you for tuning in.